Volodymyr Zelenskyy showed up at the White House today, of course in much more formal attire than last time. Now personally, I don't think the clothes on your back dictate your performance as a leader any more than the toupee you may or may not be wearing, but I digress. The tone was a lot different compared to their last meeting. Just look at them shaking hands and hugging each other. Zelenskyy was a lot more calm this time, avoiding giving his critics the sound bites they're so hungry for. Both Trump and Zelenskyy had a much friendlier demeanor, which could very well be a sign that their relations are improving. And if Trump is somehow able to escape his relationship with his toxic boyfriend, we may potentially see a deal that is somewhat favorable to Ukraine. J.D. Vance, of course, also in attendance. This time being given a stern warning not to throw another tantrum because Jesus Christ, the last one was a disaster. Inside the Oval Office, Zelenskyy thanked Trump for his personal efforts to stop killings and stop the war. Trump responded by promising the US would provide very good protection for Ukraine. This is actually pretty wild because what Trump may be getting at is security guarantees. Has he warmed up to the idea? Well, maybe. Hopefully. It would really be a shame to see this conflict ended with another useless ceasefire, so I suppose we'll see if he's more receptive to the idea of actually giving security guarantees to Ukraine. Of course, any security guarantees wouldn't include American troops on the ground, but regardless, this is good news for the Ukrainians. Trump also suggested a trilateral meeting with Putin and Zelenskyy. Definitely something everyone should be looking forward to. Not necessarily because it would solve anything, it could be as much of a nothing burger as Trump's earlier meeting with Putin, but you know, it'll definitely be entertaining at least, right? That's pretty much what American politics is for anyways. Now, speaking of the Trump-Putin meeting, the Kremlin has demanded recognition of its control over the Donetsk and Luhansk regions in exchange for pulling back from other occupied areas. Now, this is actually really scary for Zelenskyy since he has explicitly ruled out giving up territory. But the question is, will Trump actually try to push Kiev into accepting some version of this deal? I mean, let's be real, dude. If Trump has an opportunity to please Daddy Vladimir, he's gonna take it. But for the time being, we can hold out hope. But why the hell does Putin even think he has a right to those areas in the first place? Well, basically, the Kremlin propaganda he puts out says that Donetsk and Luhansk are historically Russian lands. They say this is because the Russian Empire conquered them in the late 18th century. Now, to tell you the truth, this is a pretty good argument. Except for the fact that there are already people living there. Like way before the Russians got there, in fact. There are already Ukrainian-speaking peasants in the area. And when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, both Donetsk and Luhansk voted overwhelmingly in favor of Ukrainian independence. So yeah, it makes no goddamn sense. What they're doing is the equivalent of the UK invading the US and trying to annex Maine because it's a historically British land. Like, bro, take it. We don't need that state, but you get my point. The people living in those areas consider themselves to be Ukrainian. It's kind of weird that the vast majority of people living in these historically Russian lands see themselves as historically Ukrainian, huh? Wonder how that works. But anyways, to sum up this meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy, they at least appear to be projecting unity, which one could say is a good sign. No one blew up, no one got angry, and hopefully Zelenskyy and Trump's planned meeting with European leaders goes well today. The takeaway is this. Zelenskyy avoided confrontation. Trump promised some sort of protection from the US, and the possibility of direct talks with Putin were hinted at, which would be historic. The elephant, however, remains in the room. Whether Ukraine will be pressured to accept territorial losses, something Zelenskyy obviously isn't going to give up too easily. But regardless, we're at a pivot point in the war, so it's definitely important to be keeping up with the news in these trying times. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments. Thank you for watching, and peace out.